The rain hammered against the marble steps like nature's own Morse code, each drop carrying a message Marcus Blackwood couldn't yet decode. At 42, he'd built an empire from nothing, transforming a single construction company into a multi-billion-dollar corporation that stretched across 3 continents. Money flowed through his life like water, yet tonight, standing in his mansion's grand foyer at 2:17 a.m., he felt more hollow than the echo of his footsteps in these endless halls. Success, he'd learned too late, was a beautiful cage that locked out the very thing money couldn't buy: genuine human connection. The crying shattered his brooding like glass. At first, Marcus dismissed it as the wind playing tricks through the Gothic windows, but the sound persisted, growing more desperate with each passing second. He pressed his ear to the mahogany door, his heart rate quickening as reality crashed over him. A baby. Someone had left a baby on his doorstep. His hands trembled as he unbolted the locks, each click reverberating through his chest. The sight that greeted him would be burned into his memory forever: a tiny infant, no more than a few weeks old, wrapped in a threadbare yellow blanket, lying in a wicker basket that had seen better decades. Beside the basket lay a single envelope, his name scrawled across it in desperate, shaking handwriting. "Jesus," he whispered, scooping up the basket with the care of someone handling precious crystal. The baby's cries softened into whimpers as warmth enveloped them both. Marcus had never held an infant before, had never wanted to, yet something primal stirred within him as those tiny fingers grasped at the air, searching for comfort he didn't know how to provide. "Elena," he called out, his voice cracking with an emotion he couldn't name. "Elena, please." Within moments, Elena Vasquez appeared at the top of the grand staircase, her graying hair hastily pulled back, concern etched across her weathered face. At 58, she'd been his housekeeper for over a decade, the one constant in his ever-changing world of mergers and acquisitions. Where others saw only dollar signs in Marcus Blackwood, Elena saw the lost boy he'd once been, the one who'd aged out of foster care at 18 with nothing but determination and a heart that had learned to armor itself against disappointment. "Dios mío," she breathed, descending the stairs with a grace that defied her age. Without hesitation, she took the baby from his awkward grip, her movements fluid and instinctive. The infant immediately quieted, as if recognizing a kindred spirit. Where did this little angel come from? Marcus handed her the envelope with shaking fingers. "Someone left them. I don't understand. Why me? Why here?" Elena cradled the baby against her chest while tearing open the envelope. Her face cycled through confusion, shock, and finally, a grief so profound that Marcus felt his knees buckle. The letter fluttered from her hands like a wounded bird, landing at his feet. He read it aloud, each word cutting deeper than the last. "Mr. Blackwood, this is Sophia, my daughter. I'm dying, and I have nowhere else to turn. I worked, as your night cleaner for the past year. You never saw me, but I saw your kindness when you thought no one was watching. Please give her the life I cannot. She deserves love, something I pray you'll understand. Carmen Reyes." "Carmen," Elena whispered, tears streaming down her cheeks. "She was so young, so scared. She told me she was sick, but I thought she just had the flu." Marcus stared at the woman who'd run his household for 10 years, seeing her truly for the first time. "You knew her. She was my niece," Elena's voice broke. "My sister's youngest daughter. She came here from Guatemala last year, pregnant and alone. I got her the cleaning job, but I couldn't. I was too proud to tell you she was family. Too afraid you'd think I was taking advantage." The revelation hit Marcus like a physical blow. Elena, who'd been the closest thing to family he'd ever known, had been suffering in silence while her own flesh and blood struggled just floors below his penthouse office. How many nights had Carmen cleaned around him while he worked late, invisible in her uniform, carrying this secret that would forever change all their lives? "She must have been terrified," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "Dying, alone, not knowing who to trust with her baby." Elena nodded, gently rocking Sophia, who had fallen asleep against her shoulder. Carmen was stubborn like her mother. She wouldn't take charity, wouldn't ask for help even when she needed it most. But she chose you, Marcus. Out of all the wealthy people in this city, she chose you to trust with her most precious gift. Over the following weeks, Marcus's penthouse transformed into something unrecognizable. The sterile showcase of wealth became a home filled with the sounds of life: Sophia's gurgles during feeding time, Elena's Spanish lullabies echoing through halls that had known only silence, the rustle of tiny clothes being folded with infinite care. Marcus found himself rushing home from board meetings not to check stock prices, but to watch Sophia's face light up when he walked into the room. Elena bloomed under the responsibility of caring for her great niece, her grief channeled into fierce protective love. She taught Marcus how to hold a bottle at just the right angle, how to interpret different types of cries, how to swaddle Sophia so she felt secure. In return, Marcus saw Elena not as an employee, but as the family he'd unconsciously been searching for his entire adult life. The adoption process was surprisingly swift when backed by unlimited resources and genuine love. Marcus's lawyers, initially confused by their client's sudden interest in family law, quickly understood they were facilitating something sacred. Elena sat beside him during every meeting, her legal status quietly elevated from housekeeper to Sophia's guardian and Marcus's equal partner in this new chapter of their lives. One evening, as autumn painted the city in shades of gold and crimson, Marcus found Elena in the nursery, singing softly to Sophia while moonlight streamed through the windows. The baby's eyes were wide and alert, as if understanding every word of her great-aunt's melodic Spanish. "She has Carmen's eyes," Elena murmured without looking up. "That same spark of mischief, that intelligence that sees everything." Marcus settled into the rocking chair beside them, a piece of furniture that would have seemed absurd in his old life. "Elena, I need you to know something. When I was 18, I aged out of the system with nothing. No family, no connections, just determination and luck. I built this company believing that success meant independence, that needing people made you weak. But watching you love Sophia, seeing how naturally you've made her feel safe and wanted, you've taught me what I never learned growing up." "What's that, mijo?" Elena's voice was soft, the endearment slipping out naturally. "That family isn't about blood or money or legal documents. It's about showing up, day after day, choosing to love someone even when it's complicated or inconvenient. You've been doing that for me for 10 years, and I was too blind to see it." Elena's eyes filled with tears. Carmen saw it, though. Somehow, she knew that underneath all your success, you were still that boy who needed a family as much as Sophia does. As Sophia grew from infant to toddler, the mansion filled with laughter, toys scattered across Italian marble floors, and crayon artwork proudly displayed on refrigerators that cost more than most people's cars. Marcus discovered joy in the mundane, bedtime stories read in voices animated beyond his former dignity, tea parties where his business acumen was temporarily suspended in favor of playing the bumbling giant, quiet moments when Sophia would fall asleep in his arms while he worked. Elena officially became Sophia's legal guardian alongside Marcus, their family unit unconventional but unshakable. The staff, initially bewildered by their employer's transformation from workaholic hermit to devoted father figure, found themselves part of something larger, a household built on love rather than mere employment. Years later, Marcus would tell Sophia the story of how she came to them, how her mother's final act of love had united three souls who needed each other more than they'd ever known. Carmen's sacrifice had created something beautiful from desperation, transforming a lonely mansion into a home where love multiplied rather than divided, where family was chosen with intention and nurtured with devotion. In the end, Marcus learned that true wealth wasn't measured in market caps or property values, but in the trust of a dying woman who believed in his capacity for love, in the dedication of a woman who'd quietly loved him like family for years, and in the laughter of a little girl who saw him not as a millionaire, but simply as daddy, the most valuable title he'd ever earned.